join us live on Facebook. That's the beauty of what's happening now. Technology is really evolving. Talking about technology evolving, well, for long we've been told that actually creativity and maths are two separate worlds and that either you're an artist or a scientist. Now, in my world, it's basically your left brain or your right brain, because you're creative or basically, you are like that strategic type, you are that design, that engineer type, so to say. But this is a myth, apparently, that's created by schooling system to simplify learning, and it's holding us back. In reality, creativity and logical thinking are inseparable. Every innovation, from sports cars to smartphones, proves that beauty and function, design and technology, art and math all actually work together. To help us understand this more, we have Maulana Bilal Kathrada that is joining us live on Facebook. Please, we get to see him today. We've had many issues in the past, but alhamdulillah, wonderful to have you back on our screens and on the airwaves of Razia Al-Ansam. Maulana Bilal, welcome back. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Walaikum salam. And it's always a pleasure to be here, Razia.
Alhamdulillah. How was your Ramadan and how was your Eid?
What Ramadan? What Eid? The time went so fast. I don't know what hit me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
May Allah accept from us. Taqabbalallahu minna wa minkum. Now, you say that the separation between maths and creativity is artificial. I'm very, very interested to hear this. Can you explain how this division started and also why it still persists in our education system today?
Yeah, so let's take a contrasting view of the real world versus what's happening in school. Let's start with school, since that's something we are all very familiar with. So in school, we have these different subjects. You have maths, and then you have history, and then you have science, and biology, arts and crafts. And children are told typically that either you're the mathematical type or you're the artsy type, you're more creative. Now, what we've done in school is that we've created these what I call these secularized subjects, right? But
Almost
when
like
you
it's
look at the
pockets.
real world,
Yeah.
correct. Yeah, these silos. But if you look at the real world, you'll see a different scenario, right? In pretty much everything that we do, there is a combination of different disciplines. I mean, look at the type of work that you are doing right now, Razia. You, at the same time, bringing in Islamic knowledge, you're bringing in the technology, you're bringing your communication skills, your creativity, and you're putting that all together to make your program into the success that it is. In the same way, when you look at something as mundane as baking something at home, baking a beautiful cake and with a pretty icing and things, what's going on there? There's mathematics involved because you bring all the measurements. There is the baking part involved. There's the creativity involved. So in every aspect of life, you notice that there's a whole lot of things working together. But in school, in this old, antiquated, outdated system, we've got this separation. This is math, this is art. Either that or that. But our brains don't work like that. Our minds are both. We are creative and we are logical. Some people might incline a little more this way or that, but we all have the both.
Absolutely. Now that you say that, it's so true, because teachers who teach maths actually say, when you have your little ones in the kitchen, ask them how many cups, make them count, all of that. And yes, we know baking is creative. So that is basically accessing the right brain. In my terms, I work with these kind of things. So, we mentioned in the intro about smart cars and smartphones as examples of creativity and logic working together. Can you share other real examples where maths and creativity or art are actually inseparable?
Yeah, there are tons of different examples. I mean, in pretty much any object that is manufactured today, you'll see that there's, if you really observe it, you'll see that there is a meld, a mix of both. I mean, the cell phones are a very good example. I mean, if you look at a typical cell phone, it's not just a functional thing, it's not just a marvel of engineering. It's beautiful to look at. Even the user interfaces, the apps, the colors they use, it's all very beautiful. What does that tell you? That somewhere along the way, an engineer, a software developer, a graphic designer, a product designer sat together and put their skills together and said, let's create a beautiful product. If you look at what's going on in industry, you look at our homes, right? In our homes, when you look at our kitchens, for example, right? Everybody wants a beautiful, fancy kitchen. I mean, if I put a block of wood there and an ugly cupboard that does everything that you need it to do, it stores your stuff, it stores your dishes, it stores your groceries. Would you want that in your home? No. You'd say, well, this is unpainted, unvarnished pine. I don't want this. I want something beautiful. I want, I want these granite tops. I want this beautiful veneered doors. Why? Because we want the functionality, but we want the beauty also. So in creating those cupboards at home, obviously there was the engineering, the mathematics, the measurements that went into it, but there was also the design, right? There's the part that went into making it look beautiful and attractive. So when you get guests at home, then they'll admire your stuff.
SubhanAllah, as you're speaking, it just basically brings awareness that Allah Azza wa Jalla created us with both lobes of the brain, the left and the right hemisphere. And we know that the right hemisphere is all about the creative side, and the left is your logical planning, reasoning, and things like that. So in my work, what I do is I help the brain to actually get into, to integrate it so that the clarity and intuition, all of that comes through. So as you're speaking, what is actually coming through to me, you have the aha moments when people speak, is that Allah Azza wa Jal hasn't created anything by mistake or accident. So He didn't give us the left brain by accident for people who are basically designers or artistic or creative. Just like He didn't give us both two hands by mistake, an extra one. Whatever He blessed us with, there is a reason. And you bringing this through just helps us to understand the reality of that. And it's wonderful. So, Maulana, how does coding actually help to break down this division that you mentioned? What skills do children develop when they learn to code then?
So, I love what you're saying about this left brain, right brain thing. Now, if you tell a child in her most, formative years that you're not mathematically inclined, you're more artistic, or you're not so creative, you're mathematically inclined, we don't realize the extent to which we are harming that child. Because what we're actually doing is, instead of embracing, as you say, the left and right, and understanding that I've got both superpowers. I just need to unleash them in different ways. We are actually boxing the child in, and we're leading her to incorrectly believe that you're not good at maths, or you're not good at creativity. So coming to coding, this is what I love about coding. I mean, as old as I am, I've been coding for 40 years. I'm not a professional coder, but I still code because it keeps my mind sharp. Now, this is what coding does for a child. When a child is building a website or an app or a video game, what she's actually doing is, on the back end, there's the coding, which is very logical, mathematical, right? It's talking to the computer in this coding, maths-like language. But that's not the only part, because then you look at the front end of what you've created, right? Like a website. You want that website to be beautiful, you want it to be functional, you want it to be attractive. Your video games that you build, for example, you want it to be playable. You don't want it to be ugly. You don't want the user to have a bad experience using your thing. So when a child is coding, and I've seen this time after time, Razia, at the same time, they are balancing the logical and the creative. So they do something in the logical, then they look at the creative. Does this look nice? No, it doesn't look nice. I'm going to go back and I'm going to change the colors. And then they recode it, and then they change the colors and they come. So at one and the same time, it's like a beautiful interweave of the two types of knowledge. And they build these apps and they build these games. So what we are actually doing is, we're saying to the child, without saying it, that now you need to use both sides of your brain in perfect harmony. And I will challenge you to find a subject in school that does that so effectively as coding does.
Wow, well, that's actually beautiful. And you highlighted something important. If we keep drilling into a child, you're not so good at maths, there's that belief system. And then they're going to believe that I'm not good at maths. Whereas practice, we know that everything you can master with just practice. So thank you for helping us to understand the benefit of coding. I think many people think that coding is just for kids who want a career in technology. So, what would you say? How would you explain this in the broader value beyond technology?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I mean, look, if you look at the world of coding, it's a very lucrative career to get into. But coding serves a lot more purposes beyond that, in a sense that it's like the best way I can describe it is like a multivitamin of healthy benefits for a child's mind. And I feel like every child needs to learn coding because, again, as we said earlier, coding brings together these two sides of the brain, the logical and the creative at the same time. But coding also teaches critical thinking. It also teaches communication skills, creativity, and all these skills, if you think about it, are in-demand skills of the future. And not just that. See, when you talk about maths, and remember the analogy you brought earlier on where the maths teacher says to the moms that when you are baking, bring the child into the kitchen and let her see or let him see what you are doing and how you are measuring. There's a reason for that. And the reason is because maths is a very abstract subject. It's not something that we can understand. 2x plus y, we don't understand that.
Yeah.
But when you bring the child into the kitchen and show him that this is how I'm measuring, you're taking that abstract and you're making it real for the child.
Correct.
You get what I'm saying? So coding takes the abstract knowledge and makes it real because the child is building something. She's creating a game or an app or a website, and that is there's nothing more rewarding than that. Let's put it that way. Than working on something and seeing the product of it and showing your friends and your parents and your aunts and your uncles that, hey, I built this app or I built this video game. Come and play. Look at what I've done. That is that intrinsic motivation that the child needs.
Alhamdulillah, I think it's time for us to wrap up. Malana, as we wrap up, what is your take on message for our urban women listeners this morning? Mums, dads, a lot of dads also listen, so I should actually say urban men, fathers as well.
Yeah, my advice is get your kids coding today. It'll teach them how to think. It'll teach them how to be creative. It'll prepare them for leadership in the future. How do you get started? Well, Alhamdulillah, we just relaunched our CompuKids brand last week. It's much better than before. And for the next 3 months, we're making all our coding courses completely free. So go to compukids.org, compukids.org, and sign up now. I mean, it's holiday time. They're probably sitting at least around bored, maybe even doom scrolling on social media.
Yep.
I say get them coding. Get them coding today. Get them coding this moment. It's all free out there.
Jazakallah khair for that. We appreciate you sharing knowledge with us and for your time this morning. And until we connect again, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam.
And that was Maulana Bilal Kathrada chatting with us about basically how, having a mythbuster about maths and creativity being very, very separate, and we realize that it's actually not separate. And I think that reality and that awareness has come through after this interview. It is time for a quick break, and then I've got to wrap up. Stay tuned.